So we just saw Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Very long movie.
Woof.
Woof.
Yeah. 2 hours and 45 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
Something like
and
that.
And you watched it last night.
Yeah.
This morning.
This was my second watch.
You spent 6 hours, basically.
Of my life in the past 48 hours, 24 hours.
Yeah. Watching Blade Runner.
Which is totally fine by me.
Yeah. So, right off the bat, first off, this is going to be a little different than our usual movie shenanigans. And we're just going to sit down and talk about it a little bit more in depth instead of doing a shorter video.
It fits this movie.
Yeah, I mean...
To do it this way.
Yeah. So, right off the bat, really like the movie.
It's fucking awesome.
And my biggest thing, I mentioned this a few times, my biggest thing is that when you see a movie and you can just tell that there's a ton of effort and care and detail and just passion put into making the movie.
That's okay. So we were talking the other day about like movie runtime, and you said something along the lines of like, I'm down for a 3-hour movie if it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would kind of put this in that wheelhouse.
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Because... Yeah. Like, one of the reasons you're fine with watching Lord of the Rings for, 9 hours plus is that each movie is just there's such an attention to detail and passion that it keeps you moving along. There's no real moment where you're, like, kind of taken out of it.
Right.
Or you're thinking, like, when's this going to be over,
Right, yeah, there's there's nothing that takes you out of it. It's all, like, everything seems necessary.
Yeah.
Everything. So... That's how I felt with this movie. I mean, I'm sure it could have been shaved down a bit, but for the most part, there was no scenes or moments or plot lines that I was just like, they should have just gotten rid of that.
Yeah.
And I was pretty much just like totally immersed into this movie for the entire runtime.
Yeah, I mean, the opening shot and like the initial like wave of synth coming from Hans Zimmer's amazing score in this movie.
Yeah, it was really good.
You're there. You know what I mean? And it had a great, as we talked about, great opening like title treatments.
Yeah.
It had a very, very nice, simple, here's the explanation, and then just black screen, bottom red, Blade Runner.
Yeah, that was cool.
It didn't even say 2049.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was awesome.
And I really think, after watching the movie, I think that the trailers and all that kind of stuff was actually done really well. Because there was not like an ounce of story like in those trailers that like gave anything away.
The only thing that was ever given away is that Deckard is still alive.
Yeah.
But we all expected
Harrison Ford. Yeah.
And okay, so as I'm sure the title says, we're just going to do spoilers. So we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah.
So one thing about this movie that I am just enthralled with, that I love, they never... it is obvious that he is, but there is not one single moment that people have been waiting 35 years for that just says... he's a replicant.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's assumed that he's a Nexus 8 with a longer lifespan.
Yeah.
But it's never just explicit.
Well, that's something with everything in this movie. That everything in this movie is like that.
It's subtle.
Nothing is explicit. Nothing is laid out for you.
Right.
Everything's there. But you just have to fucking watch it and just like pay attention.
You have to be engaged. There were things... I will tell you, second time around, and especially after learning what everything is, you pick up on so much more detail.
So, I watched it because I had only really watched the full final cut of Blade Runner a few days ago with you. So it was good that it was recent, because it was still kind of fresh. But after watching this movie just once, there was definitely a lot of things that like went over my head, or that I was trying to trying to go back on, trying to remember like small details. It's one of those movies where you really have to like focus in.
The first time he goes to meet, I can't remember if they ever even say her name, but the daughter.
Yeah.
The first time he meets her, I was just like laser focused on that conversation between them, and there was like. The thing that she said that I didn't pick up on, even though they did go back and say it later in the movie, it didn't really click with me first time through, was when she says, an artist leaves a part of themselves behind in their work.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the whole. That's like what's you think the whole time that it's K.
Yeah, and so does he.
Yeah, and so does he. Yeah, I mean that's just like amazing storytelling.
Yeah, and like, because I was, when they first really, when they first kind of quote unquote told you that Kay was the child, I was like, oh man, this is heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
This is heavy. The quote, Marty McFly, this is heavy. All right, so. And I was like, "Oh man, this is wild."
Yeah, right.
And then later on, when he discovers that it's not him, that was another like holy shit, And it didn't feel like I wasn't disappointed by that or anything. You know, I was like, "Oh, this is just like, this is really intense, really deep."
Right, right.
Kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah,
you know?
I love that line when Fraser is like, "You thought it was you.
Yeah.
We all wish it was us."
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel bad for him in that moment, and then and then you just realize like, oh, this guy is just kind of like, he's kind of a nobody.
Yeah, he has kind of an inconsequential existence. So you're made to think that the replicants are just replicants, and the whole point was to lead to like my favorite shot of the movie, hands down, is Kay on the steps. At the very end.
That's your shot. Like the aerial shot above
the
him?
aerial shot of him. And to me, that was like the most ponderous moment of the movie where you're like, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, that's the most human thing he could have done.
Yeah.
Was to, even though he is not the kid, he still saw through this mess and made sure that it ended up right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was also that final scene with him and Deckard when Deckard's about to go up into the building. I think that was maybe the only moment in the entire movie where Kay smiles.
Yeah,
which I thought was just like kind of took me off guard. He smiles like twice.
Yeah,
when he's like telling him to like go in there and
the line made me smirk both times was he's like, go meet your daughter. Yeah.
You're like,
oh man. Like, this whole time he's doing it because he thinks he's the kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And fuck, I was gonna say. Oh yeah, speaking of like favorite shots and stuff, there was so many to choose from. But like,
fucking,
I don't even know, dude.
The cinematography.
It was ridiculous. It was so good.
Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
Like, it's like every shot in that movie was like orchestrated and thought of, and like there was not a single just like, I mean, this shot will be fine.
I think that this movie could very well have been boring, but with the great cinematography that there was, it never really was boring because every shot was like really interesting.
There's a ton of moments where it's just Kay walking in like desolation.
Yeah.
And especially like one of the best parts is it when he goes to Vegas for the first time, and like you just
yes, that first.
And he's walking, and and you think that it's just going to be that one like transitional dome, but it just keeps going like the as he's walking through just wasteland.
The orange,
and it's just a beautifully shot, really kind of ominous part.
And if that wasn't good, there would be a lot of moments in the movie where I would have been like bored. If it was just like it was like, okay, this is just like doesn't matter. Yeah.
And I love the a lot of times during the fighting there's just silence. Like there's no music going.
None of that.
None of that. Like all the times that like Love was having fight scenes, she was the main like fighter in this movie.
There was the Harrison Ford, punching Ryan Gosling over and over and over again. That was pretty funny.
That whole the meeting with, like, was kind of comical.
It was a little comical, yeah.
Like punched him a bunch of times. He's just like, and he's like, we can keep doing this, or we can get a drink. I'll take the drink.
Yeah, that was once Harrison Ford was introduced. That was the beginning of like a little bit of humor that wasn't really in the movie anywhere else. That moment, when they were first meeting was a little bit of humor.
Which was real?
Which was fine. Yeah. There was actually I don't know if you saw on Reddit or around the internet when they were filming that scene with Ford punching Ryan Gosling. He accidentally did punch him once.
Oh, yeah?
And there's a photo on Reddit I saw, and it was the exact moment after he really punched him, and Harrison Ford's face is just like he's just like, oh shit, and Ryan Gosling is just like, so it was perfect shot.
It's really funny.
But
and I love the during that scene, like all of the 50s stuff going on, like
like Elvis.
Marilyn Monroe and Elvis doing that. Yeah.
that was cool. I mean, there were I liked Joy. Like we were talking about, Joy, she probably could have been cut out completely, and it wouldn't really change anything.
But to me, she feels like, she's not the meat, but she's the seasoning. If you get what I'm saying,
Okay.
Come on, I mean, like important to the.
I know what you mean. It was
important to the symphony, if you will.
Oh my god! Important to the seasonings on the symphony.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's putting salt on your sheet music, but she was really a lot better the second time around for me, and it was because I felt like I was focusing more on the philosophy of the movie and like the deeper meanings on things. And I think she really adds to like he actually does have feelings for Joy, and she like has feelings for him, and it's kind of hard to take that in because they're both like he's a replicant and she's a hologram.
Yeah, so it's like what's
really there?
What's really there?
But that's the point of the movie.
Yeah. And honestly, I was a little sad when she died.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Especially after that that scene when he was like, if anything happens to this, you're gone forever, like a real girl. I was like, oh man,
she don't die.
She gonna die.
But so that kind of sucked. But and then that scene when he saw like the ad for Joy, and the big one, and he was just looking at her, like that was like kind of a
sad moment.
Man.
It's fucked up.
But a big thing is about this movie is the whole thing about like artificial intelligence, replicants, stuff like that, and whether or not they're real, how do people treat them, and stuff like that. And that's a theme in a lot of things. Other than Blade Runner, but it was cool in this movie because so many people are replicants. It's almost like everybody you meet almost is a replicant.
One of the only characters I think was the police chief.
The only human.
Was one of the only humans that you really...
Other than her, like who, what,
I think Wallace is a human. I know he has that little chip thing, but speaking of... Jared Leto was very good in this movie. He was only in 2 scenes, I think.
Yeah. 2 scenes. With Harrison Ford and then the one when they introduced him.
Yeah, when they introduced him.
So like 2 scenes, yeah. But he was really good.
He was really creepy.
He was creepy. Yeah. No, I liked him.
I love the eyes thing.
That was cool too.
That was very well done.
Small note though, I really liked the sounds of the eye things.
They sounded like. Have you ever used those magnetic things that you throw together? That's what it reminded me of.
But he's really good. I guess he was human. He just had like some weird like biomechanical.
I think it's just because he was blind. And they just have a thing to make him not blind.
But other than him and then the police chief, they were like the only humans I think. So that like were characters. So everyone else was pretty much replicant, which was just like when I realized that I was like, oh man, that's like kind of crazy because in this world. Like so many people are replicants, It's like, and they're kind of, it's normal, I guess.
Right.
Even though there's still like racism towards them,
a little bit of racism.
Yeah.
But I like the motivations of both sides. There's kind of 3 main motivations all kind of going on. There's the police chiefs, which is to conceal this.
Yeah.
Make sure the line between human and replicant is still punctuated.
Right.
Then there's Kay's motivation to find out about his own past.
Yeah.
And then there's Wallace's and Love's, which is to make the replicants be able to reproduce.
Yeah, figure this shit
organically.
Out so they can do it. Yeah. So, and also just the idea of the movie of replicants reproducing is, I think, a great idea because the first movie dealt with like replicants in a way of like we're seeing some advancements with them and stuff.
Emotional advancements,
Right.
really. That's
And
the
then in
biggest
this
thing.
one, now we're seeing like they can potentially reproduce, which is like a huge like whoa.
Right, that's the next
You
step
know.
toward being pretty much completely human.
Right. And if they can do that, then it's like, what's the difference? You know.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I liked that driving force, and you can't really necessarily say, I mean, in my opinion, that any of those three are like wrong.
That's what
You know?
because it's all kind of a gray
Yeah.
movie. Really, there's not a like obviously it's made to seem that Wallace and Love are the antagonists. But if you think at its core, it's not really. They're not doing anything like evil.
Yeah. I mean, to some people, they would be evil.
Yeah.
Because I guess they basically enslave replicants. I mean, he says.
Okay. Yeah.
He
say
says
that thing.
like society is too like afraid of slavery or something
Yeah.
like that, and every great achievement in human history has been done with slaves or something.
Yeah,
you know, which
yeah.
is true to a point. And so I mean that's not good, obviously, but to some people, replicants aren't human, or they're not. They don't.
Right.
You know, have rights. And
I
stuff.
like the scene when he like I mean that whole part when he's talking to the new model of replicant.
Yeah.
Because and then he like cuts her womb or whatever.
Yeah.
That was gross.
That was gross. Yeah.
But
It's all slimy too. Just
oh yeah, she was, and he was like feeling her. But it's that's a very revealing scene. I think it's like one of the great things about this movie is that there are parts like that where the characters are like explicitly telling you what their motivations are, what the plot is, this stuff and that, whatever. But it's always done very tastefully,
yeah.
and it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Speaking of, like, I going back to that point we made, I do like a lot how there was no explicit like here it is scene about a bunch of stuff, you know?
Right.
Because I kept maybe expecting that because there were a lot of confusing elements happening, but they never did that. So I was just like, all right, I have to like piece this together.
You have to actually watch
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people that will be an issue, not out of any fault of their own. If some people don't really want to watch a movie like that,
That's fine.
but if you want to enjoy it, you have to like really pay attention to it. So I feel like this is definitely a movie I'd I'd buy, but I would only watch it like very sparingly.
Right.
You know, because I don't want to just. It's not a throw on background kind of movie. 'Cause
No.
you're not going to understand anything.
I do kind of want to catch it one more time while it's in theater. I might try and go see it in IMAX
That'd be cool.
because I feel like that's where it's like meant to be seen.
That synth is gonna like enter your soul.
Exactly,
It's gonna be
dude.
like,
I mean, even in the small theater that we just
know.
saw it in, it was like
if it was any louder, it probably would have been too much. I would have been like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, but no, it was definitely like super jarring, but it was cool.
Yeah.
You know.
And the Rachel scene.
Oh, that freaked me out, man. That was weird.
That was freaky,
Yeah.
and I love when Harrison Ford just starts like crying and
Yeah.
stuff, and then her eyes were green.
Oh man,
was-
dude, Harrison Ford's so good. I forgot.
Dude,
How good he
okay.
was.
Like I said the other day when we were watching Blade Runner,
Yeah.
I was like, anytime Harrison Ford shows his face in something, instantly better.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh yeah, Sam Jackson's that guy for me. Understandable, respect.
Yeah.
But this proves it, I think, once again.
Yeah.
Force Awakens put it in my head again, and this again, man, he's just
Harrison
so
Ford
good.
Is so good. Like you kind of forget
Yeah.
that how good he is.
Because he's just such a household name.
Yeah, and you think about like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, which he's great in, but he doesn't do a lot of like acting in Star Wars or Indiana Jones.
No.
It's like he's great, but he doesn't do like emotions.
In the original Blade Runner, you get like one of the early tastes of it from him, I think.
Yeah,
And this one it's even more, I think.
yeah. I mean, in fairness, he did have a pretty emotional scene in Force Awakens with his son, but I guess it was just seeing Harrison Ford like cry.
Yeah, it was very upsetting
man,
because he just he has a very reserved style, and I like that. It's very manly, I guess is the best way to put it.
He's a tough guy.
He's always a tough guy. So whenever he shows himself being emotional in a scene, it's very like impactful.
Yeah, he's good at it.
Yeah.
So there was no issues with any of the acting. I want to talk about Ryan Gosling for a bit.
Yes.
He was so great in this movie.
He was.
He was so great, and he's really good at this kind of acting where he doesn't talk a whole lot. Because have you seen Drive?
I haven't seen Drive.
Good movie. I didn't love it, but
I know a lot of
liked
people
it.
really like
I liked it a
Drive.
lot, and he says very little in that movie at all. And he has a lot of, and he speaks more in this movie, of course, but in this movie he does have a lot of this silent scenes of him just walking or just kind of going about stuff, and he's just really good at just like
Looking like he's just naturally. It's because he exhibits kind of a very it's very easily relatable. Like the way he just kind of surveys an environment. He doesn't just run in.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't just. He doesn't look like he's acting.
yeah.
He looks like he's legitimately like
Yeah.
trying to figure things out himself with the audience.
And that's like the whole point of acting, of course. You just shouldn't look like you're acting. He just comes across so natural.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
This movie.
Well, it's hard. I mean, what I mean is like a lot of actors can do it in their voice and can do it in their expressions,
Right.
but have a hard time with the body language
Yeah.
because it's harder to do that. It's harder to do subtle.
Yeah.
And I think him and what's his name? Fucking Bane. I can't remember his name.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Another good one. Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Those people are really masters of their craft, I think.
Yeah, body language. Yeah, he's just really believable in this movie. And this was kind of fun. Gaff, the guy
having
who,
Edward James Olmos.
Yeah. Who was I liked that he was only in that one little scene.
And he did what I loved is that they chose sheep because
right. It's the book.
the book is called, I think it's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
Yeah.
That little moment.
Yeah. That was
great.
Cool. That was cool. But that was I think if I could name one it's not a criticism, but just one non-positive thing to say would be just sometimes it was difficult to keep everything clear.
Yeah.
And just, all right, this is happening because everything was super super subtle.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I like that. So.
Yeah. And really, I think at this point, like with Alien, we'll use that as an example. I can watch Alien and I could not even think about the rest of the sequels. It wouldn't even matter. I think that 2049 is now 100% a part of that story.
Yeah.
It's Blade Runner and 2049. There's that's it. That's the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you watch Blade Runner, it's not like you have to watch 2049, but if you want the whole
story,
then of course watch it. And you should definitely watch the first one before watching this one.
2049. Yeah.
But I think that's all we have to say about that.
That for right now, yeah.
All right, cool. That's it.